from accountant to farmer, it's not the average sort of path to take. It's probably not what many of your colleagues at university might have done. How was it that the transition was made?
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I worked in the summers on farms. I grew up in quite a rural area, and to be honest, I just saw it as a bit of money. I've always liked grafting outside, and I didn't realize, hence going into accounting and all that, that was something I was really passionate about. But then my interest grew and grew, and my fiance, her family are farmers and very forward-thinking farmers, so helping them out and learning from them made me realize that this farming, and we can touch on this, I think is key to all kinds of different areas of, like I've said, of health of the land, health of yourself, and a lot of the solutions to some issues we're facing today.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, let's go straight into that. Like, what's the bigger picture for you with this? Was it like accounting's not going to save the world? Accounting's not going to make the world much a better place. It's pretty well done for those who know how to do it. What was your thought process?
I kind of followed what other people told me would be a good idea and went into that. Seemed like the safe thing to do. And I wasn't going to pursue it as a career, but I was kind of got an interview, was short of ideas and got an interview with a top accounting firm and got the job, and then that was it. And I realized pretty quick that, swapping time for money was just not me. And, sitting behind a desk and not feeling like I was creating any real, I wasn't fulfilling any purpose and any satisfaction or helping people really. So I got through my exams, and then, which was a struggle, but quickly after that, I then looked to how I can step away into things I'm actually really interested in.
Looking back, would you have done the degree, or what are your thoughts on that now?
I say this, I mean, I wouldn't. The only reason I say yes to going to university and doing that was that I met my fiance. So, and I did make some good friends.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, I probably wouldn't have done. And, it was kind of hard for me to get over that. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. And I've learned now that the only way to fix that is to, take action and take steps in the direction I now want to go in.
Yes, if anyone out there's dying of boredom in their degree, know that there could be some good come out of it. You might meet your life partner. You might make some good friends, and then it doesn't sentence you to continuing to do that. Anyone who's kind of feeling discouraged of being stuck in something. And so talk about what did you get into then when you started in farming? And guys who are on the call, you're welcome to put your hand up or ask questions in the chat box, or contribute to an open discussion. If you do that, then we'll know you want to chime in. But yeah, what did you get into to start with there when you left the accounting world?
Yeah, so where I am, I'm kind of in the north of England, lots of hill country around here. So not much, well, a lot of rain, a lot of hills, kind of poorer land, and then a lot of grass. So I became particularly interested in livestock farming, and that is what my fiance's family specialize in. So that kind of hands-on experience there, helping them, and added to my role now as a consultant to farmers, specializing in that. It's grassland management and making the most of the land, and that is kind of what I am most interested and experienced in now.
Where have you specifically been working mostly?
In the north of England, so in the Dales and in Lancashire.
Yeah. So, yeah. Where more specifically for those who are in Lancashire or Yorkshire, or you don't have to
Yeah, so
give the exact address.
I'm currently in North Yorkshire, so it's quite kind of towards Leeds, that kind of area, and
Yep.
yeah, Pendle Valley in Lancashire.
Yeah. Cool. And my brother's in lives near York at the moment. He's a Leeds Rhinos coach at rugby
Right.
league. Yeah, so
Yeah, well,
I was there with him not too long ago. I went over there for
that's
the
not
grand
far
final
from
last
there.
year with St
Yeah,
Helens. Yeah. Yeah, you should see if you can connect on some level. He's right into his farming. He was getting his lamb and stuff direct. They're getting a whole lamb in Australia and that when we were there. I don't know what relationship. I think he gets free meat through the team somehow. There's a butcher there
nice.
that's looking after everybody. But yeah, he's into all this sort of stuff as well. Ryan Talbot's actually there at the moment at Leeds Rhinos with my brother. He runs View Motion. He was in Real Movement before, and now he's built this running AI technology. He's a really good man as well. If you get the chance to, you could take him out for a steak or something. He's
Yeah,
good
no,
value.
that's interesting. Yeah,
I'll see how long he's going to be there if you're interested. But yeah, he's a good man. He's got a really interesting tech company that's wants to be the Facebook of movement analytic data. He's got something really cool happening with that. So,
oh, cool. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
But so yeah, what are you doing? Like, how are you able to help farmers?
So day to day, kind of what I'm doing is visiting farmers at their farms, assessing what they're currently doing, and seeing if they can improve their systems and more specifically become more profitable and work out how they can continue making a living from it.
Do you want to ask stuff around this?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what are the biggest, pitfalls that you see people fall into, even the experienced ones? Like, what are the top like 2 or 3 things that come to mind that you see a pattern with?
Well,
or is it highly individualized?
It is individualized, but I think a lot of the issues come particularly from the environment, like what they are dealing with day to day. In terms of specifics, quite an issue is, I would say, not working with the land, like working against it rather than with it. So thinking of my garden, for example, I've got an area which is cold and wet and shaded. So I planted a load of ferns there. And a year later, they have thrived, and I literally need a machete to get past them. And it's kind of, this is the situation we're in, is they called it the Green Revolution after World War II here in England, where everyone was really focused on yield and food security. Let's push the yield, let's do everything we can there. And this has led things to be propped up by big industry. So the increased use of inorganic fertilizers, all that kind of thing. And also what has happened now, which is really an issue, is people they're not using crops or systems that would work best with them. So now we have commodity crops. So when I get my hair cut, this Kurdish guy who his family are all farmers, and the wheat that they grow on his farm is exactly the same as the wheat that gets grown in England, because this is commodities now. It's the same with maize, barley, whatever. And this is because you can go and buy futures on eToro in wheat or whatever now. What that has meant is, when historically, and I'm using wheat as an example here, but it's the same for grass and everything, and not using these heritage grains that are suited to our individual microclimates. And, you know, getting back to my ferns analogy, if I had tried growing my ferns in the middle of the sun, like the sunniest spot, they wouldn't be shooting up. And we're using what's happening now. And I see this as the same with diet. You know, you can sustain things unhealthily for a while before the cracks start happening. So, you know, my mum used to tell me, oh, to be a big strong boy, make sure you eat your bowl of Weetabix and your rounds of toast with vegetable oil spread. And, you know, that didn't make me a big strong boy. It made me a sick, weak, you know, boy with all these immune deficiencies. And that's what's happening now. It's becoming more and more the need for all these inorganic fertilizers is becoming more. And an example of that, I was with a farmer the other day, and he was saying how his neighbor had applied some inorganic fertilizer, and you could see exactly where he'd missed on the margins of his fields, where he'd kind of cut the corner. And that was because literally no wheat had come up in these areas, and it had in other areas. And what that shows is there's nothing left in a lot of land now. It's sick and it's weak and it needs healing.
So what does that look like when you go into that rehabilitation process? Because the implication of what you're talking about is that applying it to cattle farming, right? Applying it to livestock management, is that you want heritage, you want these, you know, ancient kind of natural plants to come back in, right? You almost want a field full of weeds and natural grass, if you will, as opposed to a manicured farm. Is that right?
You've nailed it. You've nailed it. So where I live, or in the exposed hill areas, you're not going to have these certain types of sheep. If you're going to be using sheep that are hardy and they'll survive there. What we're seeing now is, since that green revolution, people are going regeneratively now, but that's actually just back to the old ways that worked for hundreds or thousands of years. So, like you said, with weeds and that, it's, if you look at nature, if I leave an area of bare soil, very quickly weeds will come in, and the earth wants to be covered, and that increases the diversity, increases the microbes and all that, all kinds of things. So what I would say is solutions around that now are, firstly, using stock or crops, whatever, that suit your land. Also using these different systems, like bringing in cover crops for the diversity, and integrating livestock with arable land. And this is the way nature intended it, and this is what works. There's a great book for anyone who want to do a bit of extra reading called Dirt to Soil, by a really successful farmer called Gabe Brown. And yeah, it was two farmers who've recommended that to me, and that's fantastic and goes into a lot of the details there.
Have you put any Notion stuff together around farming yet? The Green Revolution, definitely a good thing for people to get there. So I haven't looked at a lot of stuff for a long time, but when I looked at it, I was like, man, this is not good. You know, why did they do this? You know, it had a huge negative impact on developing world as well. Like that, you know, a lot of countries with low economic status were getting flooded with the grains coming in from the subsidized grains, and it's like it's smashed everyone from all directions, really. But yeah, that history is a really interesting one to know, and I think it would be good to see if you want to put together a few of the resources that kind of could help people get started with. There is a farming section within Uncom. We could go into there with your name and details next to it, or another course. I don't know. Daniel's kind of going to help us out with more of the course implementation stuff, but that would be really cool. Joel Salatin's probably my favorite famous farmer. Permaculture stuff's cool, but it also gets a bit kind of esoteric in a way. It gets a bit challenging with like all the different ways it can go.
Yeah, I love Joel, and his the way he utilizes different, he stacks chickens, pigs, cattle, everything on the same bits of land, and he's running chickens behind his cattle to eat the worms out of the cow pats to then stop worm issues and parasite issues. And it's about being clever. I think you can see the last couple of generations, so like the father and the grandfather, and they've done things the same way now for a while, and it's getting slowly worse, kind of the same way that health in general is for people, but it's been unquestioned now for a bit. And yeah, it's about thinking properly and thinking for yourself. As for the Notion, I'm a bit of a Notion newbie, so I need to have a look at how that works. And yeah, I'll definitely be up for putting some stuff together.
Or you start today and you write 250 words, and then you hop on a call with Max to figure out how to structure the Notion afterwards.
Well, I'll tell you what, yeah, I think I've realized I could talk about this for hours. There's so much useful information. Yeah, and I realize now that there's a lot there, but there's easy fixes as well. And there is some, I would like to particularly talk about a problem which is probably one of the key problems to farmers, I think, which kind of goes under the radar because the general public don't really see this. And that is the reduction in opportunities for small farmers to sell direct to customers. Now, I've done a bit of digging and looking, because I see it all the time, and I always ask farmers, do you eat your own meat? And it was so shocking to me, probably 95% say no. And I just found that crazy. It's like, that's the first thing I would be doing. But it's not as easy as that. So the number of abattoirs, so slaughterhouses in the UK, and I think, my experience is in the UK, but I think this is very similar throughout the world, particularly in Western countries. So I've had a look at the number of abattoirs in the UK, and in 1976, there was a reported 1,350 abattoirs, small ones. 2001, this had reduced to 340. And then in 2020, the number was 150. So why is this? The reasons are that the legislations, the red tape, and the kind of requirements have just got worse and worse. And, you can talk about agendas and all that, but for example, for a small abattoir, even though they've been doing these things for hundreds of years, they now need really sophisticated ventilation systems. They need special wall lining. They have as much paperwork as a abattoir that's 10 times the size. So what that has meant is they can't afford to run anymore. And when there used to be lots of little local hubs where a farmer, they have a handful of sheep that are ready, or lambs that are ready to go, or they have one beef cattle, say, they could take that a couple of miles very easily, no issues. But now, and I look in my area, not in Yorkshire, there is hardly any, which is just crazy when the amount of livestock farmers there are.
So yeah, I think people who are interested in this conversation are relatively aware of the challenge, and it's everywhere in the world that's happening. I think it's like they're making it more difficult to butcher. They're making more laws around, like just particularly the Western world, and clearly there's an anti-meat agenda. They've just released this, artificial meat and blah. We can go into those conversations, but solutions. What do you think we can do as Uncom network? Like you're here and you're seeing, okay, well, there's some land there in Montenegro. There's infinite land in Vanuatu. Nico's about to do farming in Bali. Like what can we do? How can we get it done? What comes to mind with the possibilities of this network? There's also land in India and Mexico. Manisha's family has significant land, and Jorge Acosta has a ton of land in the south of Mexico next to Belize as well. And I'm sure there's a lot more. Julian is doing farming. He's got a couple of goats that he took on as a side hobby for his while he's at university in Colombia. He's doing dairy goats. But yeah, this is sort of where we're at maybe with the farming or possibilities. Like what comes to mind for you? What would you like to see happen?
Yeah. So what I was getting to there is kind of a lot of the options only now really for farmers are to sell to the supermarkets or to sell live at auctions, and that gives them hardly any profits. So solutions would be, and I saw, well, firstly, to boycott the supermarkets, start buying direct. I saw a crazy statistic the other day from a report, and the average farmer makes 0.5 pence per pack of quarter pounder beef burgers in the supermarket. The vast majority goes to the supermarkets. So if we cut them out, they're getting more and more powerful. The only way to stop that is buy direct, whether that's meat boxes, whether that is creating relationships with local farmers. I'll give you an example for me. So I contacted a local farmer. We've built up a relationship. He now sells to me lamb direct, or lamb and venison, because he's got a problem with deer eating all his grass. So I've got a freezer now full of good quality local meat. And, in terms of any supply chain issues that there could be, I've got this relationship. But I've taken this a step further and asked him how much he could provide to me and perhaps my friends. So he's now working with his neighbor who has cattle, and we have got orders now secured for beef, lamb and venison for a group of us when we want it. And that's been so easy to set up.
Yeah, so we could look at, we can connect with local farmers to buy direct. We just went and picked up raw milk on the way here. We do get a sausage and stuff from one of yours good friends. We get eggs, milk, and sausages from them. We haven't got beef direct from farmer yet, but it's definitely doable here in Montenegro as well. We do consume a decent bit of beef. Vanuatu, mostly purchasing from supermarket. There's like a wholesale butcher there. We spoke this week with a 68-year-old Australian farmer who's done very well with regenerating soils and regenerating farms in Australia, and he's really interested to partner with us in Vanuatu. I think he's going over there next week or the week after. He drove halfway across the country. He drove like 10 hours, which is not that far in Australia, to go and speak with Lyndon, prior to going over to Vanuatu. So we are moving ahead with this, and we value it. I've been putting it out there on my Instagram, who wants to move to Montenegro and look after some goats and sheep, and, chickens. And I haven't found anyone yet, taking up on that offer, because it is a big commitment as well. And it's not, it's not a small decision to move to a new country, to move to a village in a new country with different people. Like there's a tipping point of people being there and good things happening and resources that we need to get to in terms of doing this ourselves. But yeah, we're definitely making gains. And as a network, I think, Alex, I think you can really champion, and I think it's something that we should champion as a community of like, who's your farmer, know your farmer. I think that's something that across the, if there's 500 of us, or if there's going to be thousands of us in the, with the Five app as well, that could almost be like one of the onboarding things, and something that we check in quarterly. Is your relationship with your farmer going well? I think that's it's a powerful thing to add to our culture. Yeah.
I think
one thing that comes out of today. I think it's a good thing. What else comes to mind?
Yeah, well, the chat you're talking about yesterday how setting up villages has given opportunities to local people which they're really grateful of. Now, this is exactly the same with farmers. They often get so busy, they're working so hard, such long hours, and for very little money, that they often don't integrate with the public that much. Now, I think another solution is to use initiative a bit and creativity and ask these farmers. So I can think of a couple of examples. There's one guy who I saw the other week, and he had a 7-acre area of grass which he wasn't doing anything with. He now rents that to a chap for dog training, and it's 300 British pounds a month to this guy. And the farmer thinks this is one of his most profitable areas. The dog trainer thinks he's getting an awesome deal. And I see this so much. In fact, I was at a weekend, a range of strength. Lucas Aaron, he had an event on
At Liam's place.
At Liam's place, yeah. And I was chatting to Liam, and he used his own initiative. He wanted to set up a gym. He literally knocked on doors of farmers in his area and found this one that built a relationship with him, who then agreed, and they've built this fantastic facility. So yeah, kind of my point there is speak to people direct. It's easier than you think.
Yeah. It's not that easy in Montenegro. It's not that easy in Vanuatu, but it's easy in the Western world for players in the uncom game. It's doable. There's probably different networks and softwares and things as well, where I'd imagine in the UK there'd be some sort of network of regenerative farmers and such that you could probably look up. Is there? A lot of people have suggested. I would have heard 5 or 10 people say they're wanting to create an app that links those kinds of farmers together to make exactly what we're talking about today, to make that easier. Maybe that's something that will come out of today as well. We'll try and get this out to a few people and see what pops up as this is the best thing to do if you're in the USA, and this is the best thing to do if you're in New South Wales or Queensland or state by state in Australia. Do you know of anything in the UK that makes that process easier to connect to a local farmer to get your lamb or beef or dairy?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is specific groups. So like local farming groups or groups or regenerative groups. I think a potential issue is that the age of farmers is going up and up in the UK. The average age of a farmer is 60 because, often no one else will take it on. And I think there is if we can work out how, when I say contacting these people directly, how we can do that, or because a lot of these farmers aren't the most tech savvy, but they would definitely be willing. They would rather pass on or rent out farmland to someone who's going to look after it than not.
Yeah,
so
I think
it's a good question.
Buying and renting the farmland in the West is something we could look at, but we need to recruit farmers first to our network, and then we could look to fund them and that sort of thing. And that's an interesting enterprise as a medium term thing that we could do of okay, there's 20 players in Yorkshire, Lancashire region. Let's all get meat from the same farm. Let's set up a farm together. Let's get it cheaper. Let's go hang out there. Each weekend there's going to be people out there. Every month there's a big thing. Every quarter, that'd be a dream, and probably something that other people would then rally around if you got to a certain volume with. I think that's a good medium term thing, but short term it's probably just more where can you buy it, and then if uncom players are buying their meat directly from farmers, I think that's a step forward, and supporting and just having that conversation. To me, that seems like something that we can look to. It's all about decreasing the friction. The whole point of uncom is just the easiest place in the world to start a business. From my perspective, Liam's just been going through it. you can start any idea and instantly you've got clients to practice on and you're getting feedback on your sales pitch. And the whole game is like decrease the friction. And I'm looking to decrease the friction to get jacked and tan and all that as well. And also decrease the friction to learn another language and go travel the world in a meaningful way, which is kind of how Uncommon Success started, like what I wanted to do when I was 23, but couldn't because it didn't exist. That's what we have. Same game for farming, Alex. How do we decrease the friction around supporting farmers for Uncom players? And then maybe we can make a game of it of each Uncom player keeps track of how many people they refer to a local farmer, and with that local farmer, so it becomes like one of the sub games within Uncommon Success is how many people have you referred to get a significant amount or all of your meat, your produce from a local farmer, veggies as well, and like whatever people buy veggies, get the veggies from I just think more in terms of animal products, but that like that. But I'm looking for other people that are going to energize some of these concepts as well, because everything takes a bit of mental energy, like the thing of finding the farmer and the thing of, and even within Uncom of like, hey, how do we get that leaderboard going, and then have a quarterly call around farming that fires everyone up again to push on with the next little steps. You know what I mean? Like, and if this is sort of something that it sounds like this is almost what you're doing with the farmers, it could be a good thing that you can say, well, yeah, I'm doing this with these other crew, and then you could run with this as a concept. We haven't really had a chance to have a good talk one-to-one. This is kind of what, when I talk with someone, this is kind of the conversation that we have of, all right, well, if it was your responsibility to fix the world's farming and food consumption, what would you do, and how can I support that? And I do have like more to support with now than just saying, hey, you go and build an app and you go and sort it out. But we could definitely build that app within Uncom. Like we could have that live this week of this is the list. Maybe not this week, maybe next week. Seb's coming in next week, but have a list of farmers in the UK who are regenerative farmers who sell direct to market, and we get 10 of them on our app in the next 10 days. And then that would be a step. And then we could have a US branch of that. And then, you know what I mean? And then the ball is rolling, and balls that are rolling can gain momentum, and the snowball, and more so than who's the guy who pushed the rock up the hill? It might be one of those as well, like it might be something that we can never fucking conquer, but still worth pushing the stone up the hill. It was a noble life that in the mythology. Do you know the story?
I'm thinking of the guy who took the calf up the hill, bigger
Milo.
every day.
Yeah.
Milo.
Milo took the calf up the hill, but there was another fellow who pushed the stone up the hill, and then it rolled back down over and over.
No, I'll have to look at that.
We'll get to the bottom of that. ChatGPT will know what the answer is to that. If you're on your computer, Kevin. Todd, did you want to share something?
Yeah, in WA, we're in the southwest of Western Australia. They've got a company called Dirty Clean Food, and it's a good site to go have a look at because it could be a good prototype in a way. That's a company that started, and they're actually growing pretty fast. What they've done is linked all the regenerative agriculture farmer guys, and they're doing heaps of stuff. And basically, everyone in Perth now, and I see this truck driving around all the time, dropping off meat, and it's all pretty legit. And it's all the micro farms, regenerative farms, and you can basically order packs and get it on subscriptions and all that sort of stuff. So it's a pretty good site. I use it all the time. It's where all my meat comes from, and they basically tell you where it comes from. So yeah, it's worth having a look at that.
Exactly, and there'll be those things pretty much everywhere, and we can just put them in for now, and maybe we can go another step and go even more direct to the farmer, because I'm sure they make their cut, and that's fine too.
Exactly. Their packaging.
Yeah, but if we even just linking to those things is a good thing. There's a bunch of options in the States. Maybe people are aware of them because I think they've sponsored a lot of the podcasts. The White Oaks Pastures, I think it's called, is one of the ones, and there's Butcher Box and stuff like that. The Patrick Schmidt has actually he reached out to White Oak Pastures, and another one as well, about setting that up in the States. So on a bigger scale, like that's at least a step, that's a good step in the right direction. And then we can keep going with other options. Yeah, two guys solved the Sisyphus. That's the one. It's punished in the underworld by God of Zeus, forced him to roll a boulder up a hill for all of eternity. Every time he nears the top, the boulder rolls back down. There is some more optimistic interpretation of that story that's that he actually was enjoying it, that he just like man's life is to toil, and it's not necessarily about getting the thing to stop at the top of the hill or ever rolling it over the other side. Like maybe it's just about pushing the boulder up the hill. Yeah, I feel like that it could be that with regenerative agriculture, like let's just push the boulder and see. That's the whole thing of Uncommon Success. Like we're definitely, it's not the trend that the social engineers have in mind to have athletic, richer, smarter men. Like the mission to Mars that we have is not the one that the social engineers have designed. Their mission is emboxed in the mainstream education, Netflix, what TikTok and Instagram do to your brain, etc. That's the socially engineered solution, and ours is quite different to that. So, we might be doing the Sisyphus, but personally, I love it. Like I enjoy this boulder, and it sounds like Alex enjoys that one. So, yeah, we can definitely do. We did. I mean, Simon in Australia, in Sydney, his thing is Mackenzie's Meats. His name isn't Simon Mackenzie, but his business is Mackenzie's Meats. We set that up in partnership. Like I helped him to actually start that, and that is a meat delivery service in Australia. He's transitioned it into being a bit more of a carnivore education brand because he had trouble finding enough people to buy the meat in Sydney, despite the network. And I think it was more about sales skills, but he worked hard with it, and he's definitely worked hard with it. So we have had one go at this type of thing, but I think it's something that we should continue to go at, and make it a standard within the network of you buy your meat from a farmer, you don't buy from Tesco and such. And I always buy at those places when I travel because I don't know how to solve it. Like if I could, I would. And there is someone else I know who he was doing 3 to 5 grand sort of high-end coaching lifestyle stuff, proving increase in testosterone, and his protocol is all around raw milk, eggs. He does a lot of raw beef as well, like the tartares type stuff. And he has quite a good list of quality suppliers around the world. So his clients, he sets up with, okay, you in Dubai, go to this person, go to that person, or this location. So it's something we can work on. I think would add a ton of value. Certainly a hassle when you travel to try and solve this stuff. Alex, any final thoughts? Any other ideas here? Can we move forward on this, or how are you feeling about the?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think I've just having a few chats with farmers this week and trying to work things out myself. So on that, when I realised how bad that issue with abattoirs is, I found a guy who has recently, he's a small scale farmer down south, and he's created the first mobile abattoir in the UK. And I had a chat with him, an awesome chat, and it's taken them about 7 years to do. But they've got it rubber stamped now. So he was telling me how, this is a prototype which, we can teach you and help other farmers in the north and around the country do.
Yeah.
And
that's what in Australia as well. I was going to ask you
right.
about, mention that. Yeah. That we were actually looking at, we had goats and stuff. I was looking at getting them. No, Nathan Gould has cattle on his property. He's out the back of Byron Bay. They're just about to sell and move to Vanuatu, but he has used the mobile butcher as well in Oz.
Yeah, but no, I think it's really important. And yeah, that one chat for me, just finding his number, that he's invited me to his farm now to have a look at the prototype and look at how they're doing things. And and I've getting some consultancy sorted for him as well. So kind of my point there is easy calls like that, and figuring things out for yourself and taking action can make progression quite quick.
Todd's pointed out there's actually, there's a really good business in it. If it's working in Western Australia, there's no reason why it can't work in West Yorkshire. It's how do you duplicate that model? Like there's a big opportunity in that business there today. And even the expat community in Mexico, Liam, like, can you solve, is that a problem that someone can solve? Is a problem you want to solve? It's a problem worth solving everywhere. And if Alex is on board with that, and then, from the marketing and social media and sales, like you get the ball rolling, you never know who's going to jump in to to play a role to be able to make it better. You know what I mean? So if we can, let's continue this conversation. But I'm really glad that we got it started. It's good to look at the big zoomed out. Oh, this is all fucked, and this is what's going on, and this is where it's going. And it's nice to zoom in and say, well, this is what we can do about it today, and this is what might happen if we keep doing what we're doing, and where we might be 2, 3, 5 years from now. Like, I'd love all the villages to be self-sufficient, and that's a part of the vision. It's just another one of the challenges, like linking all that stuff up, but it's worth solving. So, it's a bit of a push for me to go further with it here in Montenegro, and even look at if we can go more direct in Vanuatu. It is pretty rural and whatnot, but I think, there's maybe we can do better. So if we can, we should. Liam?
Hey, Keegan, just a thought there, Alex. Like, I'd love to create a village one day, farming behind it, all that sort of stuff. But, way back in the days, my sister had, just a small rural block of 10 acres or something like that. It'd be kind of cool to educate people on like how to do it for yourself, right? To harvest enough animals per year for you and your family on a small lifestyle block, what that looks like, how you move the cattle around, I mean, it'd be great to solve the world's problems, but first of all, it'd be awesome to solve mine and then move forward from there. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say when you're in a small system like that, rather than dealing with breeding the animals yourself, an easy way and less complicated way is to buy yearlings in. So say this is cattle. Say you buy a year-old cattle. They typically can be finished and ready for meat production at 2 years old. So by buying them in a bit later and not dealing with all the carving and issues of that, you don't have to keep them over winter in harsher conditions or in a shed or whatever that would be. So it reduces a lot of headaches for you, and you can then practice these things like rotational grazing and all that, which actually will quite quickly increase your yield of grass and then increase the ability that you have of stocking that area and get better and better.
What is the general rule of thumb? Like, how many cattle per acre or whatever it is, like when you're rotating something like that?
Yeah, well, typically it's if you've got an acre, you'll struggle to sustain just one cattle. But let's say for ease, and you typically need about a hectare for one cattle. So you can I think the only real input cost you will need there is electric fencing, which you can then move each day. And it's not that intensive. But yeah, it's kind of key to try and keep things as easy as possible and not bite off more than you can chew. In terms of overstocking early on, because that will mean that you might mess the land up and also need to buy in supplementary feed like hay.
Goats can be a really you can use less quality land in for Mexico, for example. Like goats, you can put more on a certain area and they'll kind of eat anything if you bring other food in for them and such. In Bali, they keep the goats up in little bamboo huts, and they go and chop the greens up and then deliver them to the goats twice a day. So the goats get breakfast in bed and afternoon tea, and they go out on their little scooters and pack it on the back or just walk it back. And the men clean the land for free of the big landholders so they can feed goats. They have like 5, 6, 7 goats. And the wealth of the man is how many goats you have. They unfortunately don't eat their goats. They sell them to the main islands. There's a Muslim culture festival, something that they use the goats for. So it's all cash for them, but that's how they do it. They just bring them the greens. But yeah, it's a good conversation to have. And again, it's a thing of villages and community. If there's a bunch of you that have similar ideals and values, then it's much more doable as well, because you don't want to not be able to go on holiday because you got 3 goats to look after, and all those kinds of things. So there's many things to think about when you have your own animals. I had 6-7 goats in Yukai for a while out the back of Byron Bay. And yeah, it was a fucking full-time job. Like, they were just tangling themselves up. We weren't well set up for it. They cleaned some uncleanable land, which was fantastic. But yeah, it was a wild experience. I wanted the wild experience, but it was definitely got what I bargained for. 4 pigs that were semi-wild as well, sleeping under our house and all sorts. But Sebastian, did you want to share anything there listening in? Michael, what's coming up for you guys? Appreciate you jumping in. Are you getting your meat from farmers? Are there any farmers around that you can interact with? Do you get it from supermarket?
Yeah, I get it from the supermarket. Yeah.
You're in Norway, right? So yeah. I have no idea how it is to go about this stuff in Norway, but I'd be intrigued to find out. So I don't know. See if you get any research for us on that in the next 7 days. Dump it into the farming chat in Telegram. If there, what opportunities or options there are to connect with local farmers and how stuff works in Norway. I'm sure. Do you have any relatives that have any farming experience? Or
no, I don't. I know there are some butchers around who sell meat, but and then I also know there are some like collectives where local farmers go to like a local store once a week, like multiple farmers, and sell their stuff. So yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, if you do investigate it at all, it would be maybe that is kind of an in-between solution that they have in Norway, of that the local farmer sells to a smaller distributor, and maybe it's a more friendly way of doing it. I know in a lot of countries in the West, it's really industrialized now, where it's all kind of going through the major supermarkets more and less butchers and such. Some countries don't even really have butchers anymore, which is madness in itself. But
yeah, actually, yeah, it's really industrialized here. This week, actually, I have a job where I'm in a warehouse, and we get like thousands of cattle that are like frozen, and we package them and everything. So it's like, yeah, it's very industrialized here as well. Yeah.
Interesting. Michael?
Yeah, well, in Sweden, it do exist butchers. I get my meat from a butcher mostly, but you can also buy meat boxes, and that's quite. You can get a lot of places that provide meat boxes. So there's an opportunity to buy from local farmers, and after this conversation, I will actually go. I'll try to go out and meet farmers in nearby areas, see if I can hook up someone.
Yeah. Let us know what you come up with there. It's interesting to know how it works in different countries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Dan DePaul, we're just about to finish up. We've been talking about meat and farming in the UK. The Bongo's been saying that everything's sort of high quality as far as the meat goes in South Africa. But do you buy from the supermarket, or is it mostly butchers, or do you go farmer direct? Do you know how the deal is for farmers there? That's kind of the discussion today.
Yeah, so I generally buy from supermarket, depending on what shops I get it from. So it is easy to find some quality meat here in South Africa. I have bought from a farm of website that I buy from, where I can buy like meat boxes and grass-fed beef, where they are, the meat growers and a butcher at the same time. And then if you're in the know, depending on what parts of South Africa, you can make friends with farmers who have, sheep or cattle, or have farms where you can actually buy directly. So it's just more of like doing your research and finding those contacts, which is fairly easy in South Africa, because meat is a staple here in South Africa, especially for the Afrikaans. You spoke about this on another call. That Afrikaans, that big stature. Well, it comes from having braai meat and barbecuing meat and having meat as a staple in especially from the farmlands, especially those more traditional Afrikaans farmers, beef farmers and things like that. And then of course we have access to wild meat as well, springbok, ostrich, and many other wonderful, tasty treats.
I told my wife yesterday we're going to live in South Africa for a while at some stage. She was like, "Oh, you haven't mentioned that one before." But yeah, it's on the cards. We got to do it.
Awesome.
Kevin, Meeting Island. Unless anyone's got any final thoughts after that, let you finish it up, Alex. Dublin. I'm guessing you're a supermarket man. Is there any kind of anything here that you know about?
Like organic scene, like it's fairly niche. There's a few pockets where it's more affluent areas that are going to have them, but like I wouldn't
it's
say.
not just talking about organic, because organic is a bit of a way, like it's extra expense to be able to say blah blah blah. But can you buy direct from farmers? Do you know of anyone who does that? Do you know of any networks or that sort of thing?
Nah, like no, not really. I wouldn't know much. Maybe eggs and stuff like that, but not like meats. I know my dad would be like in contact to, getting venison and stuff like that, as he's a chef and he can just skin it all and then cut it up and put it in a freezer sort of way. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be more my dad's thing, but it is there. I'm sure if you look, there's certain sites you can get those meats from. But yeah,
see if you can find a couple of links for us to put in our base package here for when someone joins Uncom to that could be a little challenge we set for everyone who's on the call here today. If there's any kind of network in Sweden, if there's any kind of network in Norway, we got Julian just jumped on from Colombia. Is there anything in Mexico? Todd's given us a solution there on the West Coast. I know Mike Howe's quite good, I think, in the East Coast. It's gone crazy. There's a brand in East Coast Australia that's doing some good things. Actually had a discussion with one of the owners last year. She's interested in sort of having a connection. But yeah, let's see if anyone can come up with something there to support us and Alex in this mission to have more Uncom players buying direct from farmers.
I wanted to say something regarding like the value of livestock, just to share a perspective.
Sure.
It like when you think of the word livestock, you can think of also the word like stock and stock market. And so there's actually someone in America that was trying to develop a network where like you purchased a stock in a herd from a farmer. And so it kind of can give the perspective from like a commodity sense, like Alex was talking about. But instead of having the defined commodity that the global economy has, we would establish the value of that through what we want in the meat market. And like looking in the past, like the richest men were often the herders and the shepherds, like especially when you read the Bible, it talks about how they had like these massive amounts of livestock. And then when you think about a normal stock, it might go up in value over the course of its life. Like maybe you'll hit it at 2 or 3 or 10 times or something like that. But that value isn't ever going to be able to consistently multiply. Whereas with livestock, if you're taking care of them, two animals can lead you to 4, can lead you to 8, can lead you to 16. So like, I think there's a lot of objectivity we can bring to the conversation, not just, hey, this is going to be healthier for you, but like when you look at the numbers, there's so much capacity for growth when you're working with livestock.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I've seen it in terms of how you can invest in farmland for passive income. And yeah, if there was something to invest in an animal, I know a lot of the issues for farmers is they'll have a lot of upfront costs for, all kinds of things, for feed, for vet bills, capital expenditure, and it takes a long time before they get that payback. But if you are helping farmers by putting some money in up front, then that would definitely be a way, I think, of helping these small scales farmers to flourish.
Julian's just jumped in, and he to finish up on that, like, yeah, building that kind of tech to be able to invest in herds and NFT, like we spoke quite a lot about that. There's a big opportunity with Vanuatu to own a beef, from somewhere else and it's in Vanuatu, and then when it sells, you get some back. There's actually one in Paraguay that I was just looking at investing. You could buy a 70 head for I think 35,000 or something like that US dollars, and it's guaranteed 10% return. So there are initiatives like this popping up. And yeah, I think, if it's an interesting thing to look at as far as an investment opportunity goes, and if facilitating that with tech. I looked online maybe 5 years ago of, can I buy someone in Africa a herd of goats, just not expecting anything in return other than just kind of wanting to see how the goats did. Like I literally looked, is there any way to do this? And I couldn't find any way of doing it. We have Aries, the African juggling. He's in Uganda. I have spoken to him about getting some land over there. And like, there's the possibility with that, Alex, of, I'm sure like there's a lot of people there that don't have work, and money goes a long way. Imagine if, I would love if we bought some land outside the city and that was like feeding his gymnasts. And those kind of projects, I'd like it to be profitable and to an extent as well. But if that sort of like the profit goes into supplying the gymnasts with food around their workouts, or, lots of ideas, but yeah, all of this stuff is possible. And that's why, having success on an individual personal level to a large extent, will facilitate these bigger picture projects. You do this out of passion after you've done your other stuff, or you figure out a way to make it really profitable now, like the one in Perth that we spoke about, or my cow. Julian, maybe you can share a little bit about the goats. I'm not sure if this meeting was somewhere late or you just saw the link, but we did start an hour ago, so we're going to wrap it up. But since you actually have done this, you've got your goats, maybe you can share something about your journey into being a micro farmer and regenerative agriculture in Colombia.
Yeah, sure.
Welcome.
Like I just started with the goats like almost 1 year, because like this Sunday we take like the goat again to the bog to get like again pregnant. That's called like freshening. So, and the little goats, like they are like 1 month away from getting 1 year, and to also take them to the bog. So yeah, it's been a great journey, because first, as I said like yesterday on the group, when I watched the video of you from the chicken coops, like I can say that they have taught me many different things, especially solving problems, because every single day is a different challenge. So, and now into the farming, like for example, as we don't have like a big land, what we have been doing is like talking with people who has an empty land, who has to pay for someone to cut down the different forests. So what we do is talk with that people, say, hey, we have goats, we can take them there, and they can cut the grass down, they eat, they fertilize the soil, then you can plant whatever you want, and we are getting that benefit. So we made like the rotational grazing on different lands near to where the goats are living. So that's like an opportunity for many people who maybe doesn't have like a bigger land, but they can talk with the community. And there are many different places that are empty and are too crowded from different forage, but it's just like about connecting with people who is willing to let you take the goats there, or any kind of animal that you have. That's like what we have been doing.
It's a nice business in Australia as well. Sorry, you go, Alex.
I was just going to say that's a good point. A lot of the farmers I met an old guy recently who is struggling to keep up with his land. His only objective is to break even, but also look after the land. He doesn't have enough stock to do that. So yeah, that kind of thing is quite, is a solution, isn't it?
One of the goals I had at the start of the year was a certain number of, head of ruminant animals. I forget now what I wrote down. I have to look back at but it is like something that's important to me that we do. It's just I can't look after the herd at the moment. There's too much going on. So if we can figure out ways to do this stuff, like it's something that I'd like to invest in and support. And yeah, I think across the network, like there's a lot more going to happen with this. That's how our conversation started with Julian maybe a year ago. We've been chatting on Instagram for a few years, but yeah, that's, I'm looking for people to step up in this realm within Uncommon Success. It's such a valuable thing to do. And I think there's probably 25 to 50% of people who join are really interested in this. They really value quality meat and where it comes from. And the other 50%, a lot of probably haven't really thought too deeply on it yet, but yeah, let's make this the start of the conversation. We've got the farm chat there. There's so much possibility within this network. It's getting stronger every day. Soon enough, we'll have, there'll be thousands of us, and we've got land. And we just, keep taking steps towards it. I think the easy one from today is to have that network of these are the farmers to buy from around the world. This is like the wholesale type options that are better than going to the supermarkets. And then if there's actually direct farmers, and you can look up on the index and see, oh, yep, there's actually someone 10, 20 minutes away from me. That would be phenomenal to help more of that. As you was on the call now, we do this buying from Andrea, who's a good family friend of his, and we were just there this morning. We take everyone there to tour the farm. Kev was there the other day. The Bongo went there this morning. Mr. DePower, you come on late, but we went for a swim there and picked up some raw milk and eggs and stuff there this morning, yogurt, local farm. So yeah, it's a good thing. These are good steps. Do you want to add anything there, Yubo?
I just wanted to say also that, for example, what I've noticed, and also with the research I've done and with the experience, is that, for example, that you gotta be like really like not careful, but you gotta look into the animals. What kind of animal are you going to buy? Because, for example, we have seen that not all the animals like are the best to be outside all the time and be grazing and browsing. Many of them are too selective, so they are going to rely more like on different types of feed. And like always my goal was to keep them like grain free, like to keep the polyunsaturated fatty acid like really low on their milk, to make it like more higher in saturated fat and conjugated linoleic acid and all that kind of fats that are really low in the commercial milk. So that's what I've been seeing, that the kind of animal is like a little tougher to select, but it can be done. And also it's gonna make like the business more profitable, because when you get animals that keep a greater body condition and that can produce more, eating less and eating many different things, so that's when the money, or when the higher production for your family or for your friends or whatever you want is going to start coming. Because when you have animals that take a lot, but then
it's definitely there's a lot of specialized knowledge that goes into doing it well. It's not something to take on lightly, but it's a conversation we can keep having. And congratulations on taking that on as a young man, a young farmer in Colombia. Lubo was saying the same thing, that the goats like the rough terrain here. Yubo had 50 goats here in the hills of Montenegro. That was initially what we have here, is a goat farm that has become the Uncom village. So the Hilton is the old goat house, which the building behind, you might not have seen it as much on the videos, but the building behind where the bathrooms and restaurant and everything is the old goat house, which we call the Hilton. But yeah, maybe I'm not sure how much you listen to Yubo, if you want to share or just say hello before we finish up.
Hello.
Yes. Did you want to share anything before we finish here? Or?
Keegan, he's talking, but he can't hear himself because he muted himself. I can hear him talking now.
Yeah.
Yubo, you're gonna have to unmute.
He turns the video off when he speaks as well, but we'll get there. He's not a tech man. All right. He might get him on the next one, but he's definitely passionate about local farming and such as well. Excellent. All right. Well, yeah, appreciate everyone jumping in today. I think there's going to be some solid actions that come out of this, and it's important work, that you're doing, Alex, and that you're doing, Julian, and you boys doing here on a local level, and it's a big part of what we aim to achieve with Uncommon Successes. Extremely high quality men, extremely high quality food, and they're related to each other. And so, we're taking steps forward with the food side of things today. And it obviously goes deeper than food. It's soil. It's the life of the planet. It's a lot, but it's the blood of the economy. But yeah, let's continue this conversation. Let's make sure this happens at least once a month. I think for the next little while, let's get it rolling. Anyone who can contribute, please look at how you can contribute around the farming side of things. Knowledge, information, local stuff to you. Anything else that we think of as we go on. And yeah, thanks everyone today, and we speak again soon.
Thank you very much.
Say goodbye, sign off. Thank you, Alex. Champion. Well done.
Cheers, Keegan.
Cheers,
yeah.
Alex.
Cheers, Todd. Well done.